right, good morning. Today is March 1st, 2022. You need to log in to USA Test Prep. All right. Once you get logged into USA Test Prep, I want you to go to where your assignments are. Okay. Instead of doing a bell ringer today, all right, I've changed the plans once again. We are going to go up here to practice. We're going to go over here to 8th grade ELA. We're going to click on that. All right, and when you click on that, you're going to see your progress, okay, and all of your dots. Now, we are going to focus specifically today on reading informational text. All right, we're going to focus specifically today on reading informational text, okay? We're going to start with this first dot that says textual evidence. So even if your dot is green, you are still going to click on this first dot that says textual evidence. Now, my new goal for right now is we're going to, instead of doing an ACAP bell ringer, we are going to take a dot and turn it green as our bell ringer every single day. Okay? Shh. So, with me doing this with you, there is no reason for you not to turn the dot green. But that means that you have to stay with me.
Well, you got to do all of that before it turns.
Okay? There, you don't have to do necessarily all of it, but we're going to do most of it.
Well, can't we do it by ourselves?
No, you're not doing it by yourself because I have tried that method and it doesn't work. Because when y'all try to do stuff by yourself, you lose focus. You pay attention to what's going on around you instead of what's going on in front of you. So, okay. Braxton, will you please cut off the lights? Just go ahead and cut both of them off. All right, so drawing conclusions. All right, we're going to go ahead and click begin. You need to click begin as well. All right, you need to choose your teacher, Brittany Wheelis. We are in first period. And we're going to click begin. All right, now your video is not going to work, but mine does. So we're going to watch this together.
Drawing conclusions is something that every person does when they read something. It's also something that we do in everyday life, whether you realize it or not. Imagine that you see your friend and your friend is smiling and they look really, really happy. You would probably draw the conclusion that something good happened to them to make them feel that way. On the other hand, if you saw your friend with a frown, you would probably draw the conclusion that something bad happened that upset them. That's an example of drawing a conclusion. You didn't just make a random guess about how they felt. You made that educated guess based on evidence, based on their smile, or based on their frown. So let's take a look at a passage and see how this applies to reading. Many people fear snakes. However, snakes are often misunderstood. Most snakes that live in Georgia are not venomous. Relative to the number of snakes per acre, snake bites are rare. This is because they fear people and flee when they feel the vibrations of human footsteps. Snakes keep the rodent population down and aerate the soil as well. Having snakes in your yard should be considered beneficial, not dangerous. Based on that passage, you might be asked to draw a conclusion about the author's opinion. For example, do you think the author likes snakes or dislikes snakes? Well, they're trying to convince people not to misunderstand them. Okay, they come out and say that right in the beginning that snakes are often misunderstood. And the author definitely presents snakes in a positive light with several key details, such as keeping the rodent population down and aerating the soil. The author also directly states that snakes should be considered beneficial. Therefore, we can conclude that the author likes snakes and is trying to convince other people to as well. So when you draw a conclusion, you're basically making a very educated guess based on evidence and details in the passage that you've read. Finding evidence is always the key to back up your claim and your conclusion.
All right. Reed, go shut that door, please. All right, so our questions are, the subject of the speaker's passage is reptiles, snakes, or lizards? Snakes. Now, you could say reptiles because a snake is a reptile, but you need to be specific and choose the best answer. All right, number 2, does the author of the passage fear snakes? All right, the passage shows snakes in a negative or positive light. All right.
Now what do we do?
Now you're going to hit. You're going to click the back button.
Well, every time I do
You're
that,
going
it
to
says
click
I
the
didn't do
back
it.
button again. Now you're going to click continue on the videos. All right, we got best score 100 complete. So now we're going to go down to the next one that is inferences, and we're going to click begin. Choose a teacher. Choose your period. Begin. We're going to watch the video.
Making inferences. While we're not always conscious of it, good readers are always making inferences when they read a passage. An inference is a logical conclusion based on the details of what you've read, something that is not explicitly stated in the passage. Some people call inferencing reading between the lines because it's not explicitly stated. For example, look at these sentences. My mom walked into my room. I was totally focused on the TV and my controller was shaking. I didn't even hear her tell me that it was time to eat. Based on the details in the passage, what do you think the speaker was doing in his bedroom? It may seem obvious, but he was playing a video game. But did the speaker say that directly? No. The fact that the speaker was playing video games is an inference you made based on the clues within the sentences, such as having a controller in his hand, being totally focused on the TV, the controller shaking. These are inferences. When trying to make an inference, look for context clues and details in sentences to help you make assumptions about what's between the lines of the passage.
Okay, so I'm going to click on show transcript down here.
Wow.
All right, an inference is the term for a logical conclusion based on.
No, Mama.
All right, an inference is a logical conclusion based on the details that you've read, something that is not explicitly stated in the passage. Okay, that is another word for context clues. All right, number 2, in the video example, what activity is the person likely engaged in? Playing a video game. All right, true or false?
True.
Inferencing involves making an assumption based on clues. All right, now what do I do? To go back to the next video.
The same where you done last time.
I click back how many times?
2 times.
Oh, I got a green dot now. I'm at a yellow dot.
All right, now we're going to click continue. All right, we're going to keep on going because just because we've changed it to green does not mean that we understand this concept or this skill. Okay, we're going to complete the 2 out of 5.
Noah understands because this was
All right.
never read.
Choose your teacher. And this video is inferences again.
Are you just doing Jace's for him?
No, I'm ahead of her.
Imagine your sister came home and you asked her how she did on her chemistry test. And she replies by slamming down her books on the table and snapping, "I don't want to talk about it." What would you guess happened?
Oh, me?
Would you assume that your sister got an A+ on her test or an F? Well, your sister doesn't have to tell you directly that she did poorly on her chemistry test. You can figure that out for yourself. You can infer it based on her behavior. And when you make a guess of this kind based on certain clues or evidence, you're making an inference. As with all guesses, sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, but the more information or evidence you have, the better your chances of making correct inferences. Think about this situation. Your brother went to a slumber party last night and he comes home at 10 o'clock in the morning and goes straight upstairs to bed and sleeps for 4 hours straight. What would you infer about your brother? Would you infer that he had a good night's sleep, or would you assume that he probably stayed up, if not all night, a lot of the night? That would be the safe assumption, that he stayed up way too late with his friends. Or imagine this scenario, that you're waiting in the lobby to get into a movie theater, and people who have just seen the movie that you're about to see are exiting, and almost all of them are silent and have very serious expressions. Some even have tears running down their faces. What would you infer about that movie? You probably wouldn't assume that it's a happy movie and made people laugh, otherwise they wouldn't be crying and look so serious. Instead, you can probably assume that the movie is going to be pretty sad. Making inferences is something that we do every day. We do this in situations, and we look at the evidence. We may observe people by the clothes they're wearing, their expressions on their faces, surroundings, just anything about them to give us a clue about how they're feeling. So you're already actually a pro at this.
All right, so number 1 says an inference is based on evidence, your mood, or a wild guess. Evidence. All right. What can you infer about Sally from this sentence?
She's a good movie.
Sally slouched back on the couch with her arms crossed.
She's not in a good mood.
All right, she is not in a good mood. She is extremely exhausted. She has had a wonderful day.
She's had a wonderful day.
All right, she is not in a good mood. Slouched, arms crossed. Those are our clues, okay? Making inferences, true or false. Making inferences is something that we do in everyday situations.
True.
Y'all make an inference every single day based on your friends' lives and how people feel and all of that good stuff. Okay, your actions show us what you're feeling for the most part, and we make an educated guess off of that.
We make a hypothesis.
Good. All right. Now, shh, you need to click the back button twice. Click on continue for the videos. We have 2 more to go. Choose a teacher. Shh. Irrelevant details. What does the word irrelevant mean?
No clue.
Not important.
When you write, your teacher or whoever you're writing for expects you to include details, sometimes a lot of details. That's really what makes writing great. It's those details. It kind of paints a picture for you. But you have to be careful not to get too carried away and include details that seem kind of out of place or don't fit or inappropriate or maybe just too many of them.
expect you to be with me.
And sometimes meaning
Not working
they're
hard.
not really needed in the first
I'm the
place.
same thing you just was. Okay.
So we have a very basic paragraph here. I want to be an athlete. Sports are my passion. My other passion is noodles. I will work hard and practice. As you can see, the paragraph is really wanting to tell you
Don't work ahead of me.
What do you
Go.
mean?
Don't work ahead of me.
What do you mean?
Some of them don't have irrelevant details.
Really?
They just have supporting evidence.
Okay. All right.
Mine was already done.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead with it. So if you don't have irrelevant details, you follow along with me until we finish this, and then we'll move on to the next one. But we're not going to skip a step because some of us have it and some of us may not.
you about how this person wants to be an athlete and how sports are really important to this person. So we're trying to figure out if everything fits and flows together and makes sense, but clearly there's one sentence that sticks out to you like, what in the world's going on here? And that, of course, is my other passion is noodles. It may be tasty, but it doesn't at all relate to.
Listen, even if you don't have this video on your screen, you are going to turn around, face the front, and watch it. I do not want to hear any of us talking right now.
Wanting to be an athlete or to sports. We should just take that paragraph or that sentence out of the paragraph because it's completely distracting. It just doesn't belong. So when you're proofreading or writing something, make sure that every sentence, every detail is there for a reason. It has an impact for the overall meaning. And if it doesn't seem to fit or if it's out of place, take it out.
Take it out.
All right, so I'm going to click on show transcript just to make sure that we have it. Blank details are unrevealed or irrelevant details to the topic at hand.
Important.
Bonus,
Important.
extraness, important, or supporting.
Supporting.
Okay, so it says
I'm convinced.
when
it's
you
important.
write your teacher or whether you when you write your teacher. Let me start this over. When you write, your teacher or whoever you are writing for expects you to include details. Sometimes a lot of details. That's really what makes writing great is those details. It paints a picture for you. But you have to be careful not to get too carried away and include details that seem kind of out of place or don't fit or inappropriate or maybe just too many of them, and sometimes meaning they're not really needed in the first place. Okay? So, are we going to say bonus or
Extraneous. Yeah.
What the heck does that mean?
All right. Okay. Number 2, you should blank extraneous details if you come across any in a paper you have written.
Remove.
Which sentence in the video contains extraneous details? I want to be an athlete. Sports are my passion. My other passion is noodles. I will work hard and practice. My other passion is noodles. What does noodles have to do with your sports? Nothing. All right, now I'm going to click the back button twice.
Look at that.
All right, and now I'm going to click continue. We're going to watch supporting evidence. I still hear talking that I don't want to hear.
I didn't have the relevant stuff, so I already did that.
Okay, good deal.
Supporting evidence. Paragraphs often have two main types of sentences. You have your main idea, which is usually your topic sentence, and then everything else in that paragraph is supposed to support your main idea. However, sometimes writers get so carried away with what they're writing about and they may be thinking of in different tangents that they'll include information that really shouldn't be there. So let's look at a very short paragraph and figure out where the sentence is that doesn't belong. And I bet you can figure it out pretty quickly. The moon sometimes looks as if it has a halo around it. Moons remind me of the Twilight Saga. Halos are caused when thin clouds of millions of ice crystals cover the sky. In that short little paragraph, the main idea is about halos and how the moon looks like a halo sometimes. And everything else in that paragraph should support that and give evidence to why it's true. The second sentence, however, moons remind me of the Twilight Saga. That's just clearly something that the writer got distracted by and threw in there. They got a little carried away. It really doesn't belong in there. So it should be considered irrelevant, meaning it doesn't support the topic sentence, which is what we're supposed to be talking about. So again, when you write, make sure everything in your paragraph is supporting your main idea. And if you get carried away, just kind of get back on track and take out whatever doesn't belong and move on.
All right, so a detail that is not needed is called irrelevant information. Good. A detail that is connected to the main idea is called supporting information. Moons remind me of the Twilight Saga is an example of blank information from the passage.
Bonus.
That's irrelevant.
It's not.
All right, now we're going to go back.
Oh, I got a green dot, Miss Willis.
All right, but we're going to continue on. We are going to work our way through this whole entire dot because just watching the videos is not enough.
You said just get the green dot.
I do want a green dot, but I want you to also understand the concept. All right, so definition. This is reading between the lines. It is taking something that you read and you're putting it together with something that you already know to make sense of what you read. You make and if you click on hit down here, it tells you. Okay? Taking something that you already know and all right, does anyone have this particular one on your screen? All right, so it says this is reading between the lines. It's taking something that you read and putting it together with something that you already know to make sense of what you read. What is this definition?
No clue.
Your hint is it starts with an I and an N.
Oh, that's gonna help me.
Intransitive.
What is the word? Inference.
Hold now.
Hold on now.
All right.
What about this? Do submit. Separate a whole into.
Now, at some point, you are going to run across. Listen, the definitions might not all be in the same order, okay? But at some point, you are going to run across the word or the definition on your screen. So I'm going to still continue on and answer these together quickly, but then you may have to answer on your screen independently too, but remember what I'm going over, okay? So to strengthen or prove an argument, analysis, or idea by providing facts, details, examples, and other information is to hit. It starts with an SU.
I don't have that one.
Support. All right, support.
I don't have that one.
I don't got that.
All right, so
Mine's DE.
Mine's an IM. Yeah, me and Noah Gamble have the same one.
all right, this is factual writing that presents and explains ideas or tells about real people, places, objects, or events. Okay?
None of us had the same
Hit. It starts with an N-O. All right?
What are you doing? William McNeil Jr.
Y'all are close. There are two types of literature that we focus on. We focus on fiction and we focus on nonfiction.
This ain't even fair, McWillis.
Why ain't this fair?
Because me and Gamble are behind.
Well, me.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
This is a suggested but not stated definition. It starts with I am. Implied, which is close to imperative.
That's nice.
All right.
Yay, I got it right.
Now, this is forming a broad idea based on specific instances. Inductive reasoning. All right. Based on the last test score, I think Eli must be the smartest kid in the class. All right. It starts with a GE.
You didn't have one of the definitions I had.
What was that?
It says a verb means to separate. Well, wait just a second. She ain't done yet.
All right. Generalization.
How the heck is that?
All right. A general idea. Generalization.
I don't know how to spell that.
Don't you move from that screen.
She's moving. Scroll down a little bit.
Okay. Don't move yet.
No.
Y'all
I can't see because Will's big egghead. Will, scoot over.
I got it.
All right. So now I'm going to click on my results.
You said no.
All right. 100% on this. So now
What was the DE one?
Oh, detail.
I'm going to click back twice.
We have spent over 30 minutes on this.
Somebody's screen was just purple. I don't know that one. What's SU? I don't know. Miss, what is SU? Which one makes AS?
AN.
Mama.
Analyze.
Yeah, I got one.
All right. Now we're going to go to questions. Okay. Now we are going to go to questions, and we're going to click begin.
You gotta go down. You gotta go down.
All right. We are going to click
What is GE?
generalization. We're going to click begin
You mean beginner?
or beginner. All right. Choose your teacher.
What time are y'all leaving tomorrow?
Hold up.
What is MO? We don't know, Landon.
First of all, let me stop real quick, or stop you. Okay, we're not having conversations about what you're doing after school or at break or any other time. We are focused on exactly what we're doing. Okay?
You might need to pick up one of your students. Yeah.
Huh?
She's gone.
Nonfiction. All right, the words that we used for the vocabulary just a moment ago: nonfiction, generalization, inferences, details. INFERENCES. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go back to 10 beginner questions. All right, 10 beginner questions. And we're going to click begin. Now, the first thing that I have told you to do when you go to answer these questions is always read the question first.
I don't recall that.
Always read the question first. Okay, so according to the passage, who kicks the winning goal in the championship soccer game?
I don't think you might not need to be doing this with us because we ain't
all
going that
have
same
different
question.
Oh, y'all all have. Okay, so on this part, listen. On this part, you all have different questions or different passages. Okay, so we're going to individualize and you are going to work on this independently right now. I do not want to hear you talking. I want to see you sitting up straight, turned around, facing your computer, and focusing on this.
Now, Miss Willis.
Okay?
Shh. Hold on now. You made me get this thing wrong. I said what I am stand for. You said imprint, and it says implied.
Sorry.
Oh,
Shh.
No, she told me
That Hunter Rogers talk right there.
I have asked for you to turn around, face the front, and to focus. Your mouth is closed. Bless. Begin.
Why'd you keep Hunter Rogers out of the class yourself?
If you ask another question that is not related to the topic at hand, you are in break detention today.
Who has break today? Oh, I'm sorry.
Put your hand down.
No, it's like an actual relevant question. What do you call that thing?
Turn around.
please, part of the instruction. All 10th and 11th graders that are interested in co-oping next school year need to report to the auditorium. All 10th and 11th graders that are interested in co-oping next school year need to report to the auditorium. Thank you.
Raise your hand if you're still working through these questions.
I'm redoing it.
Hmm?
What is a co-op?
Farmer. Mm-hmm.
Won't fit the whole class now. No, to do this next thing. So 10 things on it.
Alright, raise your hand if you're still working on this. Alright, just a couple more minutes. About 5 more minutes.
No, do about 7.
Alright.
I'm on the next thing. When are you going to the elementary school?
Monday.
You excited?
I don't know.
What inspired the fit today, Miss Williams? You look like a nurse. You look like my mom when she goes to the hospital.
In a dress?
Sometimes.
What's your mom work there for?
Alright, come on now.
She works there and in the hospital. Oh, I've got two different socks on. I made it 100.
You took 2 attempts.
I quit.
No, it's yellow. It was good.
I'm kidding. I made it 10. It brought it down to a yellow. I got the first one right, and then I didn't get another one.
I had a yellow, and I'll put it back down to a red.
Y'all shut up. I'm trying to take this test. I'm gonna do better than all these.
Did you find anything that
All of them except for 2.
all or none?
Okay, so I did not read the fine print. I chose beginner because I felt like that's probably more or less what we needed. But in order to move forward with this, you must successfully complete a random or advanced set to achieve mastery. A score above 66% is required for completion. Retry scores are not included. So I started y'all at beginner. All right, I messed up. I should have done random. I'm not doing advanced. All right. So we're not going to do it again because we have spent 45 minutes so far on this. Okay. I feel like for right now that we should have at least changed that dot to green. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do tomorrow then, okay, is we'll come back in here and we will do these questions again right here. Now, see, this goes back to some of you had a green dot, but then when we answer these questions, you went back to yellow or red. And I'll tell you why. It's because you had to do it independently and I wasn't leading you in that. And some of you just clicked and didn't try. All right, so those of you that clicked and didn't try, you have caused yourself to have to do more work because you did have a green dot. All right? Okay, that I will. All right, so for now, I'm going to let you stop where you're at and we will pick up right here tomorrow with this portion. Okay? Do you understand now how much time and effort it takes to change a dot from yellow or purple to green? All right. So you can log out of USA Test Prep and you can go in to Schoology. Now, you can log out of USA Test Prep and go into Schoology. Now, we are about to go down to week 9, February the 28th through March 4th. I want you to click on Tuesday, March 1st. All right, so right now we've spent the first part of this class period remediating skills that you don't know. Now we're going to focus on a new skill for 8th grade standards, okay? And that is going to be, you need to click on, why is this assignment not showing up?
Ellipses, what the heck are those?
Because I am in the wrong class. All right, so let me try this one more time. All right, I want you to click on the assignment labeled hyphens and ellipses guided notes. Hyphens and ellipses guided notes. You are going to open the assignment with Cami. You are going to open the assignment with Cammie. All right. Guided notes. Go ahead and type your name in up at the top here.
I can't. 502 bad gateway is holding me back.
Exit out and log back in.
I done tried that.
Try one more time. Exit all the way out. Shh. Close your mouth.
Aren't you recording?
I am.
Can I just do it at the house tomorrow?
Mm-mm.
Or tonight?
Mm-mm.
Why? 502 bad gateway is still holding me back.
Okay, so everyone should have this assignment up right here. Okay, now I am going to work with you on this board, so I'm actually going to come to the front, and I know that I am recording this class. All right, so on the main projector, we're going to have a video playing. On the TV over here, we are going to have the document pulled up for your guided notes that you should have on your computer. Okay? I am going to go to the front and I am going to fill in notes along with you. All right, you need to make sure that you keep up. Now, if I were you, I would make the document on my screen just a little bit bigger. Okay?
Stop. Alright, go. Is that bigger this week?
I'm ready to go into math.
Oh, Miss Wheelis, I made a Flappy Bird game. My stomach hurts. I want some food.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct. Together, and that's okay too. And that's something that correct. Hello, today we're going to talk about some of the more dramatic punctuation types, which are dashes, ellipses, and hyphens. And we're going to discuss them so that you can know what kind of pauses to put in a sentence. There's different levels of pause you can put into a sentence depending on what you're trying to pull off and how long you want the reader to stop or take a breath. For example, if you want a full stop or a division between sentences, you're going to obviously put a period, question mark, or exclamation point. But if you only want medium pause between phrases and clauses, or the most temporary of breaths, maybe you'll do a colon or a semicolon or a comma. If you want an even shorter pause to show a breath or hesitation or emphasis, that's where these three come in. And unfortunately, these three punctuation marks are often forgotten or misused or ignored completely because not everyone knows the rules for them, when in reality they're great options to put into a sentence. So the first one is an ellipsis. Don't confuse them with an ellipse in math, first of all. The spelling is important. And please only put 3 dots. For some reason, in texting and in informal writing, people have started to put really long amounts of dots, like 4 or 5 or more, or only 2, and it's only supposed to be 3. And again, you use these to show hesitation in dialogue. For example, in a fiction book, maybe you'll say, are you sure? Or, he went that way. So again, these can show breath or hesitation or pausing or an interruption even. You can also use ellipses when you're citing just an excerpt of a direct quote. If you want to skip some words in what you're citing and just show certain parts of a sentence or an excerpt, put an ellipsis in. For example, you can skip the beginning of the sentence and just quote some of it, like the ending. You can skip a chunk out of the middle of a sentence, or you can start a sentence and then show an ellipse, use an ellipse to show that the sentence would still keep going afterward.
So the whole time, hold up. The whole time I've been up here taking notes and writing notes, my people in the back have been talking.
No, look, I've been doing that.
Okay.
I can't use spacebar.
This goes back to, you need to focus. Now, on your guided notes, it says level of pause, full stop, period, question mark, exclamation point, medium pause between phrases or clauses, a colon, semicolon, or a comma is what you can use. Okay, a brief pause to show a breath, hesitation, emphasis, dash, ellipsis, or hyphen.
So it's not ellipsis.
It may be.
I thought it was talking about seizures. Did you know that, like, epilepsy is have a seizure or whatever? I hope we're not doing no ad circuit today.
What's that name? Why you doing Mercer? What's that name below? Or Mercer. I was up here. Just how I said,
Alright, so here is the slide. If y'all cannot read my handwriting on the TV, alright? If you cannot read my handwriting on the TV, then I need for you to look straight ahead at the whiteboard. It says full stop. I need for everybody to put your hands down. Okay? Full stop, period, question mark, exclamation point. So A on your guided notes should match that first section. Alright, medium pause between phrases or clauses. You use a colon, a semicolon, or a comma. That matches B on your guided notes. Brief pause to show a breath, hesitation, or emphasis. Dash, ellipsis, or hyphen that matches C on your guided notes. Alright? Number 2 on your guided notes is going to go with the second slide. I am going to play this portion again. Make sure that you are paying attention to both screens and that you are listening. Make sure that you are paying attention to both screens and that you are listening.
For the beginning, does it say move? Middle.
For emphasis, that's where these three come in. And unfortunately, these 3 punctuation marks are often forgotten or misused or ignored completely because not everyone knows the rules for them, when in reality they're great options to put into a sentence. So the first one is an ellipsis. Don't confuse them with an ellipse in math, first of all. The spelling is important. And please only put 3 dots. For some reason, in texting and in informal writing, people have started to put really long amounts of dots, like 4 or 5 or more, or only 2, and it's only supposed to be 3. And again, you use these to show hesitation in dialogue. For example, in a fiction book, maybe you'll say, are you sure? Or, he went that way. So again, these can show breath or hesitation or pausing or an interruption even. You can also use ellipses when you're citing just an excerpt of a direct quote. If you want to skip some words in what you're citing and just show certain parts of a sentence or an excerpt, put an ellipsis in. For example, you can skip the beginning of the sentence and just quote some of it, like the ending. You can skip a chunk out of the middle of a sentence, or you can start a sentence and then show an ellipse, use an ellipse to show that the sentence would still keep going afterward. These ellipses are considered extremely important when you're citing and direct quoting because it shows the reader that there are other words that were originally there, and therefore you, the writer, might be taking something out of context, or maybe you're picking and choosing what to include. It's an honesty thing, and it's an important rule in citing. Dashes and hyphens are also commonly misused. There are 2 types of dashes that get commonly mixed up. For example, there's the N dash, which is only 1 dash and it's shorter. And it acts kind of like the word through because it often represents a range of items. It can also go with a prefix like pre-World War II or prepay. So if I want to show May through September, or June 30th through August 2nd, or pages 146 through 159, then I'd use just an N dash. I might use an M dash, which is the longer one, and it's 2 dashes long, if I'm using them as bullet points or interruptions in a sentence, like in a positive or a non-restrictive phrase or clause. And M dashes behave a little bit like commas. They can't do everything a comma can do, but again, it can be used acceptably for that interruption in the middle of a sentence. Hyphens connect 2 words that are closely related and are functioning together as one single concept. So I would use a hyphen to connect 2 words that go together and are almost like a compound word, like a toll-free phone call or 2/3 cup. So 2/3 are 2 and third are like technically 2 different numbers, but I'm using them as one unit, as one measurement. So I'm connecting them with a hyphen. Or if you have a word like well-being or 19th century to describe what kind of author, then you'd want to represent them as one cohesive item. If you recognize this, you've probably seen women who are married who hyphenated their 2 last names together, and that's okay too. And that's something that correctly uses a hyphen.
Okay, so let's go back over real quick. Everything that is on your guided notes is on the main screen on the board. So if you're looking at ellipses, or dashes and hyphens right here on number 3, okay? N dash is dealing with A. Only 1 dash acts like the word. It goes with prefixes like pre, okay? Shows a range of items.
You saying you were taking those notes just to reset them?
Hey, yeah, what about them vocabulary words you made us on top?
All right, M dash used for bullet points. All right, M dash, 2 dashes together, used for bullet points. All right, or interruption in a sentence. Positives or non-restrictive phrases or clauses like a comma would go here. The word comma. Okay? Now, hyphens is C. Connects two words that are closely related and function together as a single concept. So concepts or connects two. It's what you need to have in this blank right here. Words that are closely related and function together as a single concept. All right, toll-free phone call, 2/3 cup, well-being. These are examples. All right, of what we have just gone over.
It's the ones with the numbers on it that works. The nastier one isn't.
Thank you. All right. Does everyone have what we just did so far?
No.
All right, so I'm going to continue to play.
Miss Willis, do you know who Speed is?
So here's a quick practice. Since the hyphen, M dash, and N dash
My brother-in-law likes playing his Xbox.
Oh, my foot.
I thought you said something else.
What?
Nothing.
often get mixed up, and understandably so. I have put some underscores in places that some sort of dash or hyphen should.
What's up with this new computer? This new computer.
Go in. I want you to see if you can identify what kind of dash or hyphen should go in that spot. Take a quick look.
Now, should this, on number one, should it be Jada Pinkett Smith with an underscore is Will Smith's wife, or what should be there? That is where you put a hyphen.
There should be an underscore there. Why you drink so much water?
And if you think
Where's
you're
that
ready,
sweet tea?
let's look at the answers.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, 'cause that's not obvious that he's not playing a game.
Jada Pinkett Smith is Will Smith's wife. That's a hyphen to represent her two married last. I have put some underscores in places that some sort of dash or hyphen should go in. I want you to see if you can identify what kind of dash or hyphen should go in that spot. Take a quick look. And if you think you're ready, let's look at the answers. Jada Pinkett Smith is Will Smith's wife. That's a hyphen to represent her two married last names.
You need
My
to
brother-in-law
answer these
likes
as
playing
we
his
go.
Xbox. These are hyphens again because I'm trying to express brother-in-law as one cohesive.
If you see it on the board, it needs to be on your paper. If you see it on the board, it needs to be on your paper.
Thing. Ditto for odd-numbered problems, but I'm using an N dash to connect this range of page numbers. I also use N dashes with the prefix pre, such as pre-Civil War era. I use a hyphen again for 1/4 cup, and an M dash, the longer one, for interruptions in the middle of a sentence, like this non-restrictive clause, whose name is Elvis.
For number 6, what's that pink thing?
Thank you very much for watching.
All right, hold on.
The prefix pre.
All right. So you have hyphens, N dash, and M dash. And you also have ellipses. Now, when you finish this, I want you to click turn in, submit. All right, when you finish this, you are going to click turn in, submit.
Submission.
Because that's not obvious.
Everything on the pictures with.
Oh,
look at it.
Got caught.
Look at He was watching four videos.
Were you watching that Brady Price, Jordan? Were you watching Brady Price?
Some four in the water.
Okay, listen.
I'm ready for pearl.
When you finish,
Such as pre-Civil War era. I use a hyphen again for 1/4 cup.
when you finish, you're going to go back to Schoology. All right. We left off yesterday. I want you to close your computer.
That it wasn't only all right, but necessary to.
Now, we left off yesterday with the giver on chapter. I wrote it down. Hold on.
That's why he's got headphones on.
All right, you need to open up your book, the giver, to chapter 8. I wrote it down. No.
You've been asleep all day.
We did finish chapter 8. It was on chapter 8. All right, chapter 9.
Which one is this? Do you not have any tissues? I gotta coach Kenny.
Chapter 9. Here we go.
I need a tissue.
Page 65, chapter 9. Page 65, chapter 9. Page 69. Page 65, chapter 9.
Wait, what
You said
page?
165.
Page 65, chapter 9.
You know I don't know.
The other new 12s clustered nearby, placing their folders carefully into the carrying containers on the backs of their bikes. In each dwelling tonight, they would be studying the instructions for the beginning of their training. Each night for years, the children had memorized the required lessons for school, often yawning with boredom. Tonight, they would all begin eagerly to memorize the rules for their adult assignments. Congratulations, Asher, someone called. Then that hesitation again. You too, Jonas? Asher and Jonas responded with congratulations to their group mates. Jonas saw his parents watching him from the place where their own bicycles were waiting. Lily had already been strapped into her seat. He waved. They waved back, smiling, but he noticed that Lily was watching him solemnly, her thumb in her mouth. He rode directly to his dwelling, exchanging only small jokes and unimportant remarks with Asher. See you in the morning, Recreation Director, he called, dismounting by his door as Asher continued on. Right, see you, Asher called back. Once again, there was just a moment when things weren't quite the same, weren't quite as they had always been through the long friendship. Perhaps he imagined it. Things couldn't change with Asher. The evening meal was quieter than usual. Lily chattered about her plans for volunteer work. She would begin, she said, at the nurturing center, since she was already an expert at feeding Gabriel. I know, she added quickly, when her father gave her a warning glance. I won't mention his name. I know I'm not supposed to know his name. I can't wait for tomorrow to come, she said happily. Jonas sighed uneasily. I can, he muttered. You've been greatly honored, his mother said. Your father and I are very proud. It's the most important job in the community, father said. But just the other night, you said the job of making assignments was the most important. Mother nodded. This is different. It's not a job, really. I never thought never expected. She paused. There's only one receiver. But the chief elder said that they had made a selection before, and that it failed. What was she talking about? Both of his parents hesitated. Finally, his father described the previous selection. It was very much as it was today, Jonas. The same suspense, as 111 had been passed over when the assignments were given. Then the announcement, when they singled out the one. Jonas interrupted. What was his name? His mother replied. Her, not his. It was a female. But we are never to speak the name, or to use it again for a new child. Jonas was shocked. A name designated not to be spoken indicated the highest degree of disgrace. What happened to her? He asked nervously. But his parents looked blank. We don't know, his father said uncomfortably. We never saw her again. A silence fell over the room. They looked at each other. Finally, his mother, rising from the table, said, You've been greatly honored, Jonas, greatly honored. Alone in his sleeping room, prepared for bed, Jonas opened his folder at last. Some of the other 12s, he had noticed, had been given folders thick with printed pages. He imagined Benjamin, the scientific male in his group, beginning to read pages of rules and instructions with relish. He pictured Fiona smiling her gentle smile as she bent over the list of duties and methods that she would be required to learn in the days to come. But his folder was startlingly close to empty. Inside there was only a single printed sheet. He read it twice. Jonas, receiver of memory. 1. Go immediately at the end of school hours each day to the annex entrance behind the house of the old, and present yourself to the attendant. 2. Go immediately to your dwelling at the conclusion of training hours each day. 3. From this moment you are exempted from rules governing rudeness. You may ask questions of any citizen, and you will receive answers. 4. Do not discuss your training with any other member of the community, including parents and elders. 5. From this moment, you are prohibited from dream telling. 6. Except for illness or injury unrelated to your training, do not apply for any medication. 7. You are not permitted to apply for release. 8. You may lie. Jonas was stunned. What would happen to his friendships? His mindless hours playing ball or riding his bike along the river? Those had been happy and vital times for him. Were they to be completely taken from him now? The simple logistic instructions, where to go and when, were expected. Every 12 had to be told, of course, where and how and when to report for training. But he was a little dismayed that his schedule left no time apparently for recreation. The exemption from rudeness startled him. Reading it again, however, he realized that it didn't compel him to be rude. It simply allowed him the option. He was quite certain he would never take advantage of it. He was so completely, so thoroughly accustomed to courtesy within the community that the thought of asking another citizen an intimate question, of calling someone's attention to an area of awkwardness, was unnerving. The prohibition of dream telling, he thought, wouldn't be a real problem. He dreamed so rarely that the dream telling didn't come easily to him anyway, and he was glad to be excused from it. He wondered briefly, though, how to deal with it at the morning meal. What if he did dream? Should he simply tell his family unit, as he did so often anyway, that he hadn't? That would be a lie. Still, the final rule said, well, he wasn't quite ready to think about the final rule on the page. The restriction of medication unnerved him. Medication was always available to citizens, even to children through their parents. When he had crushed his fingers in the door, he had quickly, gasping into the speaker, notified his mother. She had hastily requisitioned relief of pain medication, which had promptly been delivered to his dwelling. Almost instantly, the excruciating pain in his hand had diminished to the throb which was now all he could recall of the experience. Rereading rule number 6, he realized that a crushed finger fell into the category of unrelated to training. So if it ever happened again, and he was quite certain it wouldn't, he had been very careful near heavy doors since the accident, he could still receive medication. The pill he took now, each morning, was also unrelated to training, so he would continue to receive the pill. But he remembered uneasily what the chief elder had said about the pain that would come with his training. She had called it indescribable. Jonas swallowed hard, trying without success to imagine what such pain might be like with no medication at all. But it was beyond his comprehension. He felt no reaction to rule number 7 at all. It had never occurred to him that under any circumstances ever, he might apply for release. Finally, he steeled himself to read the final rule again.